What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Landlord Society podcast. I'm Charlie and you're here with HDK, and we're here to help people build wealth and replace their income through the Landlord Academy using the Australian property market. And today we have a bit of a situation. So HD, do you want to share a little bit about this situation?
Yeah, look, we've been overwhelmed with these situations. I mean,
them.
we just want to thank everybody who's following us. It's been really great, and it's been awesome seeing the different scenarios that people are facing. And what I find really awesome, okay, well, a lot of people are challenged, but they have a good problem to solve. Aussies have a good problem to solve. Properties has been good over the last 3 years. We've had an interesting conversation in the previous podcast episode as well. If you haven't done that, go tune into that one. Spotify, where you're listening to us, that's where you'll listen to it. But of course, right now, we've got a very, very interesting situation. A lot of these people have a lot of potential spooled up inside of them. They just don't know how to expand it out. So really excited to share the scenario that this person is in. But not only that, it's encouraging because a lot of people are in this situation, and there's a lot of excitement to really turn your life around in terms of your finances and being able to build wealth. So you got the details in the iPad. Yeah, let's go through this one at the moment. Let's go through it.
It's good for me to read that there are people in this position. This isn't what I would consider an average everyday person position. I would consider them to be set up for a pretty strong future.
But there's a lot of these people out there.
There's more. You'd be surprised how many people are in this position. So it's really good to see, guys.
And listen out to see if you are in this situation as well.
Share, and we want you to share that with us so we can do this. So we're going to go by the names of Bob and Jane. Okay, they're a couple. In their early 30s, combined income of $200,000 a year. So that's pretty strong, right? The average income in Australia is about $90,000. It's the median is about $50,000, $60,000. So most people earn less than that, but the average is about 90. So they're doing pretty well. This gives them a borrowing capacity of around $1 million, depending on which bank they speak to. Probably more, but up to about $1 million, just
on a conservative basis.
Exactly, to be conservative.
Yeah, and this is probably the case that they don't have any children right now as well. And in this scenario, Bob and Jane has let us know that they don't have any dependents. So they're double income, no kids, dinkies.
Dinky, baby. It's good. Yeah. And they're obviously very good with their money too, right? They're financially literate, not getting caught up with afterpay and all the short-term personal loans and things like that.
Well, we hope so anyway. For the future acquisitions, we hope that they won't have those issues. But what's their situation now at the moment?
So they already own a home. Okay, so the house is worth $1 million. Now, some of you might be thinking, "Oh my gosh, that's a lot." The truth is that they didn't buy it for $1 million. They bought it for around $600 a while back.
Probably,
yeah. And they owe $500,000 on it. So they haven't paid much of it off, really. They've just let the property do the heavy lifting, which is awesome. That is what we literally advocate for a lot of people. This gives them around $300,000 of equity that they can use. Okay, so this is usable equity, not equity, usable equity. Equity, they've got around $500,000 in there. Right, but the banks aren't going to give you all of that. So combine that with the $1 million that they're able to use from the banks to borrow, they've got about $1.3 million that they can use to buy property. So with this situation, okay, they could set themselves up for a passive growth portfolio of around 120 grand a year, which is pretty bloody powerful. Okay, for people in the early 30s. That's around what we advocate for people, to be honest.
And we're about to share exactly how that's going to become possible.
Yeah.
So stay tuned till the end of the podcast. We got big juice coming up, boys and girls.
I've got it written down here on my iPad.
Scribbled,
chook scratches. We love it. So this could buy them 2 properties worth around $500,000. Okay, $500K. Now some people say, well, we just buy 1 property for $1 million. Guys, we've seen what you can do with a $500,000 property is unbelievable. You can buy them undervalued. They're more affordable. There's a lot of demand, short-term and long-term. Okay. So to buy 2 of those, you need 2 lots of a $100,000 deposit. Okay. To keep the LVR below 80%. Okay. And that 300K of equity from their home, that will cover the deposits plus the closing costs, plus a bit of an uplift. If they have something they can buy, they can see there's some opportunity for a cosmetic renovation or even a bigger renovation. Hello, that's like money on the table. That's fantastic.
Exactly right.
All right. So They could buy 2 of those. Now,
That's right. I mean, in that scenario, what could be the outcome is that these 2 properties, right? Let's say before we talk about the equity and the growth and the future potential of it all, is that for this couple, these 2 properties could be either negatively geared, neutrally geared, or positively geared. Yeah.
Whoa, hold up, Landlord Society. Are you sick and tired of the rat race and you want to start building wealth with property and generate passive income?
Then come and drop us a follow on Instagram and DM us the word landlord.
The word what, Charlie?
The word landlord, like the Landlord Society.
Okay, wait, Charles, what's our Instagram handle again?
At landlord.society.
You heard him, everybody. DM us the word landlord to our Instagram to learn more about property investing. Now, back to the podcast.
Yeah, exactly, Hundo. And look, it's probably unlikely that they're going to be positively geared right off the purchase. Yeah, but the opportunity is that even if it does cost them a little bit of money, every single year, might cost them 10 grand a year each to hold, they're still going to be increasing in value by like 6% a year on a conservative basis, okay, especially from what we've seen. So that means that the overall portfolio, including their home, is worth $2 million, okay? More if you factor in the uplifts and the time in the market. Okay, so that means that on a 6% basis per year, we're growing at $120,000 per year in the background. So they're working away. So with that being said, Handel, they might be dipping their hand in their pocket to be funding these extra properties.
Say 20 grand a year.
Say 20 grand a year.
Yeah.
But they're saving that anyway.
Yeah.
So it's equity well spent, it's serviceability well spent, and it's their cash flow from their personal income, very well spent, in my opinion.
That is true. And what I would also strongly suggest is because I love cash flow so much, like personally, I just love cash flow.
I like it too.
You
it's
like it too?
nice.
Yeah. I haven't seen too many sickos who don't like cash flow.
Yeah.
But cash flow is good because it doesn't have that additional $20,000 pressure for them. So what I'd be doing is should sort of borrowing capacity align and there's some spare cash flow that they can align, instead of losing that $20,000 at the end of the financial year where they've lost that through negative I mean the benefit is still that could offset their negative their personal income through negative gearing, exactly, right, if it is structured the right way. But since it's a loss anyway, why not spend that money up front if they have the capacity to do it? So buying a property that needs a bit of an uplift to be at a discount, put that money up ahead, increase the rent on it, then it could just be neutrally geared. Or if you mess up well, it could be even, positively geared as well, which then puts them ahead of the ownership. So if the ownership, let's say it gets you, it getting you each property being positive geared by $2,000 after all expenses is still a big difference to play with. It costing you money, yes, right? And the constant battle of having to be tempted to sell it. I mean, 20 grand to somebody who makes 200 grand is not that much of a deal. But having said that, with things happening in life and, there could be redundancy, I don't know, whatever may happen, that's just a good way to self-sustain these properties.
100%. Yeah.
And speaking of self-sustaining, they need to think about whether this is the end for them. I mean, look, 120 grand is like amazing, but look, there's 2 people in this family. Dare I say, they might be thinking about having kids soon, being the age that they're in right now, just from the, general trajectory of, multitudes of people that we have spoken to. I mean, look, we speak to hundreds of people every day. Literally, it's overwhelming, the response. And look, it's the way that you map, people's life out, it becomes pretty sort of generalized. And obviously wealth has to be part of that equation too. So 120 grand on top of your 200K salary is really good as well. But what if the misso wants to stay at home, or, they want to spend more time with the kids, or reduce your hours in the job position? A lot of the allied health medical professionals that we are seeing, they typically sort of reduce their hours and things like that. So when I see this situation here is then what can they do to not deplete their what's called serviceability? So their borrowing capacity after they buy their property number 2 and 3. So primary place, so that's property 1, and the 2 investment properties, P2 and P3, is using about $1 million of their serviceability, which is basically entire capacity. Now, look, fair enough, and that's all well and good. However, if they would consider, if they would consider structuring these properties under a trust or a company, they might not necessarily be able to pull that negative gearing through because you can't do that through the trust. And you might be paying a little bit more interest as well. But if you were to set up a strategy so that they can be pushed up to sort of that neutrally geared territory, not to mention, give it about 12 months, rents do go up anyway. So we're tending to find out a lot of properties bought a year and a half ago, 2 years ago at negatively geared rates are today very much positive geared anyway. So, but they will be able to structure that into these sort of entities, and depending on the banks that they're working with, and hopefully their finance brokers are smart enough to be able to allocate this properly and to actually design their sort of portfolio properly, and they're obviously the right conversation with an accountant, that trifecta really needs to be there, then they will be able to buy property number 4 and 5 without having to worry about serviceability over again. So what then that would allow them to do is that over the next 12 months across the $2 million portfolio that they have, including the house that they live in, they'll be able to generate $120,000 worth of equity out of that, which on a conservative basis, come on, 6% across a year. I mean, should you be able to buy that in the right locations? I mean, we're seeing even returns, upwards of 10, 20% even. So if they actually do the right thing and then do the entry sort of strategy as well, not too much, but enough, then they can then consider buying property number 4 and 5 12 months time from now.
Yeah.
Again.
That's pretty exciting.
And it is exciting, but if they were to deplete their serviceability and there's no more financial product that's going to look at them, take a second look at them, then it's going to be an issue for them. And they would have capped their return at $120,000, which sounds amazing, but why stop there when you can actually keep going? So that's where structuring and tax structures become really, really important. But understand that the implication of that would have to rely on your personal circumstances and what's actually happening in your life as well. Should you start a business, it's going to look different as well. So that's why having a finance broker that's well adjusted in identifying these things, I think is really imperative, and they need to find those connections and build that dream team probably on their way in. And a lot of people will go, oh, that's okay, 120, that's enough money, and I'll be okay. But times change. There's inflation, which we're going to talk about in the upcoming episodes as well. But inflation is a big thing, and it's just. It may sound good today, but it might not be. And the thing is, if you just go, all right, well, I'll just roll with the punches, put it under my name. It's okay. I can afford it, whatever. Well, restructuring later down the track could be really expensive because to transfer those properties out of your personal name to other entities, well, that comes with stamp duty costs as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Another interesting thing to mention here is that these properties, the investment properties, are going to be producing an income. Okay. So in the meantime, Bob and Jane are paying off their home with their own money, and they've still got debt there, non-tax deductible debt.
Yeah. So
the income generated from these investment properties, would that not be better spent paying off the non-tax deductible debt, and then maximizing the debt on the investment properties?
Yeah.
Which is good for negative gearing, right? Because that's tax deductible, and increasing their serviceability to then put them into a better position in the future.
That's right. And I'd also recommend that as they're building, their income is obviously building as well. Yeah. Probably get some offset accounts set up in your principal place of residence.
100%.
Which is something we've been through as well. Yep. Those listeners that listen to what we say, they know if they know.
Yep.
Put it in there so that they can use that to then buy their subsequent investment properties as well.
Unbelievable. So now we've got a really good use of capital, like your personal cash flow. We've got a good use of your saved cash, like your deposits, your equity.
That's right.
And a good use of your borrowing. So this is like a powerhouse of an operation here that will literally change their lives. So if this is something that you guys want us to analyze for you and just put yourself under some weird alias names,
to protect your privacy. Of course.
Message in and we'll do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, another thing I'd say is, for Bob and Jane, like we understand how you guys feel because Bob and Jane have been really lucky. Like over the last few years, the market's been great. They've been able to boost their wealth, in this way. But they're obviously writing to us, and their biggest concern, and we are familiar with this concern, is that how do we do this again? Because luck is what got them in there. instead of a control and like instead of knowledge based sort of action taking. So at that point, it's very easy to be overwhelmed on what to do, because there still is a big question, and that is, where are these $500,000 investment properties, right? How do I know what are the good properties that is going to yield results that Charlie and HD was able to talk about today? Because that's going to be imperative for you. How do I lock in that confident 6% growth? I mean, 6% growth sounds really amazing, but we sit here thinking that it's an actual conservative rate of return. So how then can you be in a situation where you ensure that, you know, equity return on the investments that you're making with this precious opportunity of a lifetime equity that you've built? You know what I mean? So, and the best way to do that is really simply to invest into your learning and the knowledge of how you actually go about doing this. Obviously, the best way to do that, share with us your situation, and we love helping you out as best as we can. But come follow us. Come follow us on Instagram, DM us, and ask us questions. We're more than happy to chat, and follow us.
Yeah.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Cheers, guys.
Peace.